It's Thursday. Kansas is coming up, guys, and we are ready to talk Mountaineer football. It's the first Big 12 game for the Mountaineers. And I have Eric standing by. I'm Shane. This is the West Virginia Call-In Show on the Voice of College Football. So we do have an alibi. We don't want to talk about Pitt, but we do have one alibi, and that is what, Eric?
I don't have any alibis.
Oh, well, it's Oliver Straw with, he made a great play and he saved the day. I could see it from my end, but it wasn't like the angle wasn't quite as, you couldn't see how great of a play he made until I saw it from another. Hey, Joey Foster. He batted the ball down and then booted it 50 yards. So, 2 helmet stickers, one for the boot and one for the save for Oliver Straw. So, that's a great play. So,
oh heck yeah, that was phenomenal. The other thing was apparently there's still a lot of controversy over the officials' call at the half. I can't wait to see what the correct answer is, but I thought they got it right. Apparently, I was wrong.
Yeah, I tried looking up exactly what the right call is, but I'm thinking it would have been assessed at the second half, or it wouldn't have been a runoff. They would have been able to kick. So one of those two things, you never would know. But the sad thing is, it could have affected the outcome of that game. And bless our blue and gold britches, it didn't. So my goodness, it was. I'll tell you what. But the athletic director, Ren Baker, put out a statement that, he had submitted a letter and they're going to try to address that in the off season. I guess they're going to slap those ACC officials on the palms and wrists or whatever, however they do it there with their rulers in the ACC, because, they're prim and proper because they have those affiliations and certifications or whatever. That's why we didn't get in. So anyways.
Yeah, they got something. I don't know that I'd go so far as say certifications.
They got something. So before we get into the deep bowels of our really intense show, let's talk about some aesthetics. West Virginia's uniform. They're going to have the white helmet. It's with the white top, one of my favorites, and the blue pants. Your thoughts are what? You like the blue helmet more, right?
That's my favorite. For the away games, you go with the blue pants, the white top, the shiny blue helmet. That's my favorite. But you know what? As far as just helmets go, the white with the state outline, that looks sweet. That and then the gold with the state outline, both of those are outstanding helmets.
And I think the white helmet, Eric, why they're going for that is it's going to be a blackout. I don't know if he's wearing all black, channeling their inner Johnny Cash, boy named Sue. I don't know, but it's going to be a good one. So let's go to the chat and see exactly who we have in there. Say hi before, because this is the call-in show. So we got Joey Foster, we got Afton, Justin Holes. Who else we got in here? Jersey ears, blue helmet, white jersey, yellow pants. That's his favorite. He likes the yellow pants. That's the traditional old school Don Nehlen away uniform. I like the blue, the white, the blue personally, but yeah, the gold pants definitely can't go wrong with that. And Mountaineer Mama, hey all. That's a great name. Boy, that's a good name, Mountaineer Mama.
Yeah, she got that early, or they got that early.
That's that's like sign me up like circa 2002. I'm Mountaineer Mama, and no one else can have that. So, Eric, I've heard there's the spread for this game is 14.5 points. A lot of betting going on with this game.
Is it still?
There was a day ago.
Okay.
But is something going on? I mean, did they not watch this hard edge football team?
Well, first of all, I got to comment on Mountaineer Mama. One last thing. They got that name with an AOL email account. That is fantastic.
I hear that.
They got that a while ago. Yeah. So here's what I think. as far as the two teams go, there's a lot of reasons to think that is a garbage line. Both teams 2-1. We have beaten our rival. Big, huge game coming off of that great win. They lost in a close one to Missouri. Well, relatively close. Missouri really kind of controlled that game. So the whole idea for them to be 2 touchdown favorites is crazy. The one thing I can think of, well, there's a couple things. One is Leipold. Leipold is a great coach coming off. I was listening to 3 guys and they were mentioning his record, and he's crazy good off the the bye week. So his record's like 5-1. So that's one of the reasons. And I think the other is that they're just thinking that Kansas, coming off a really difficult loss, is going to come out fired up, and they're thinking West Virginia is going to be having a letdown game. I don't buy that.
Yeah, I mean, I put the link in the chat, Joey and Jersey, if you want to come in. But listen, Neil Brown, I would pick up what people are putting down with the emotional letdown. But if we'll talk a little bit about Pat Mack show. Rich Rod was on old Pat Mack show, and he's like, "Listen, I'm going to get into these kids. I'm going to tear them. If there's letdown, I'm tearing into them." He's like, "I'm not afraid to yell." He also went on to say, "Aren't you afraid that you're going to lose players in the NIL?" He's like, "No, I'm paying them. I'm going to work them harder." But let's bring in Joey here. See what he has.
Excellent.
See how that works. Here we go. Joey.
There we go. Hey, guys, what's going on? Listen, let's go Mountaineers is all I can say. I mean, because that was a hell of a game. I'm real happy that we won it. And, after that Ohio game, I kind of thought to myself, I think they were looking ahead. They didn't play what I seen in game 1, and I know it was against a nobody, but at the same time, what I seen in game 1 is not what I seen in game 2, and I think they were looking ahead to game 3, and I think that's why they lost game 2. And usually, if you want to lose a game like that, it's close, and it was a close game, it was a good game, so they lost it. I don't see why Kansas is they were like when it came out, they were a 14-point favorite or something when the line first came out. That was crazy to me. Now I realize I think it's like opening day on their stadium with all the upgrades and all the new crap. Am I right?
Yeah.
So it's like a big day in Kansas land out there, but it might be a big day in Fairyland out there because West Virginia might be a little bit better than they think. And I'm not saying that we're Georgia by any means or Ohio State, but hey, we might be one of them teams out there in the Big 12 that at any moment we can sneak up and bite you right on the ass. And that's what West Virginia is this year. And I know we've got some key injuries as well. I mean, a lot of key injuries. And I think somebody said today that Edwards may be out or something. So I kind of worry about that. I didn't get to watch the press conference. I think somebody text messaged me earlier and said Edwards is out this weekend. So I don't know who that was. So I didn't even remember. That's kind of you're going to have bugs that could reach up and bite you on the ass, and the only thing you can do is just say next man up. Right? There's going to be injuries. There's going to be things that happen, and you just got to go next man up. I think that's what West Virginia did last week against Pitt. I know that's what our offensive line seems to do. It seems to get a little bit better push against Pitt than they did against Ohio, in my opinion. So,
well, Joey, that's great. That's exactly what I was thinking, that they might have been looking ahead. But Jersey Ear, welcome on. You have Joey is I was his co-host. He was the head muckety muck, and I was his Larry, and he was the well, which dude would you be if I'm Larry? You're
That's
Mo.
Mo.
Well,
Mo.
I mean, you would be Mo.
No.
I'd be Larry.
So, Jersey, what do you think about this 14-point spread?
It doesn't make sense to me. It's actually the highest point favorite that Kansas has been in the Big 12 since 2010. So you're talking, 16 years ago. West Virginia wasn't even in the Big 12 the last time Kansas has been that high of a favorite. Does not make sense to me. Honestly, I actually think we match up better with Kansas than we did Pittsburgh a week ago. I feel more confident going into this one than we did Pittsburgh. So to me, it doesn't make much sense.
Interesting.
I agree 100%. I mean, on paper, Pitt looks a lot bigger and tougher and like the matchup. They look like I think, we were talking about before the show, they look like a worse team than Ohio.
I think the one reason why it might be is just the way the schedule sets up. Lance Leipold is really, really strong off of buys. So I think part of that, and West Virginia, they probably think we're coming off an emotional victory. But, I see an avenue for West Virginia to win this game. Kansas did not run the ball very effectively last week against Missouri. I think they had under 40 yards rushing. And if we can make them one-dimensional and get after Jalen Daniels, and we're second in the nation right now in sacks, I think it's an important thing that we can do. And also, if you look at Kansas, they really struggled to possess the ball the last time they played, right? They were 3 for 11 on first downs. They got out-possessed 40 minutes to 20 minutes, and they got outgained 600 yards to 295. So, in my opinion, I think we're getting slept on. I'm not sure if we should be the favorite, but we shouldn't be a 12.5 point dog, in my opinion.
No, that's what Eric and me were talking about before, is the fact that if you can establish a decent run against a defense that had problems against Missouri, I mean, they got there was like very, very porous rush defense. And then you have Jamari coming in. I mean, and Zach Alley has been, I'll tell you what, if you're going to keep anybody, I don't care about the NIL portal. Keep Zach Alley.
That was a hot debate on Mike Kazaz's show. Would you rather pay the coordinator a lot of money and then have average players, or would you rather have superstar players and have an average coordinator? And I think everyone on that show, and I agree with them, is I'd rather pay the coordinator because he's putting these guys in really good spots, and he's been as good as advertised for West Virginia.
Other than Jamari, what other players coming in through the transfer portal was everybody licking their chops for us to get? These players that he brought in, they're good players. They're definitely, high level talent. But I think it's more that they are the right player in the right system. I agree with you, Jersey, that it's the coordinator who's going to make them fit in the right place.
Yeah, the other guy that's been the key piece to the defense is Michael Coates Jr. this year. I think he's only been targeted 2 times this year and has given up 1 catch for 2 yards. So he's definitely been as good as advertised. But, you're seeing guys like Darren Lewis step up. He has 2 interceptions, and Chase Wilson didn't play last week, but he's had a good season. Fred Perry's been as good as advertised. So we've seen this team bring group of 5 guys up, and they're getting the most out of those guys. So hopefully they can step up and have a chip on their shoulder this week. I think that 14-point spread is going to be bulletin board material in the West Virginia locker room.
It has. It was.
That's the thing. That's the beauty of it.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Shane. That's the beauty. That's the beauty of Rich Rodriguez and a Rich Rodriguez coach team, is he can find you. If you've got some speed, you've got some talent, he can coach you, and he can bring you along. And that's what we'll see in West Virginia. We're all going to see it this year, of course. We all knew this was going to be a down year. Hey, I'm happy we beat Pitt. I'm ecstatic we beat Pitt. I don't understand the odds makers, but hey, that's what we tell the players when they show up in Morgantown, right? Is that you're going to be undervalued. You're going to be, they're going to tell you you're no good, that you have no talent because you came to Morgantown, and that, you're not going to be able to win games in Morgantown. That's what we're used to. That's what Rich Rodriguez came up through with Don Neyland and stuff at those times. And then he coached through it through the 2000s, and now he's back. He hasn't forgot that we are the underdog. He's put that in these players, and now they're showing them just how we are the underdog. At a 14-point underdog to Kansas, That is crazy. That's absolutely nuts. So he's showing them now. These boys are waking up. I think they're going to play some Mountaineer football, and I think a Mountaineer pride is being instilled in a lot of them that maybe weren't Mountaineer pride before this season was started.
I like Joey's point. I feel like we can play loose now, right? Because expectations aren't high for this team. And let's face it, the only game that we had circled on our calendar was Pittsburgh, right? So like everything else is kind of house money right now, right? I don't think anyone expects us to win a Big 12 championship this year. So we want to see our team compete and win some games. But I feel like everyone feels a little bit looser now that we won that game, right? No matter what happens the rest of the season, because you got that win over rival Pitt. The program's kind of going in the right direction, and I feel like we can play a little bit loose now. And like I said, if we find a way to win this game, we come out 3-1 and beat some two teams that were touchdown favorites against us. This thing could get momentum early in the tenure. So, I like Joey's what he said though. That now that we have that Pitt win, we can play a little bit more loose.
Absolutely. Imagine the pucker factor in the Rich Rod household. His wife hugged him like, oh my gosh, like I don't have to tiptoe around the goddamn house now. I mean, just imagine just that tension. And
you've seen it. You've seen that relief on Rodriguez's face when that game was over.
Yes, it was crazy. I mean, he went to Applebee's for crying out loud. And,
that was great.
45, 12 and midnight. He's like, let's go to Applebee's. I want some appetizers.
I heard he got a Cobb salad and he got kicked out. I'm kidding. Reference to Talladega Nights. But I don't know that I agree with some things here. So I think Kansas is going to be a very formidable opponent just because of their quarterback play. Now, their running game, not worried about it as much. But I think as their quarterback goes, this could get rough. I agree. Afton said, a new stadium, there's no magic there. And I got to agree with her. They may come in, they may bring a great environment in. But I think Rich, like you were saying, Jersey, 14 points, he is in our defense's head, screaming at him. He's in his own offense's head saying, apparently you guys can't score. Apparently you can't move the ball. And I saw Glenn made an excellent point. This would be a great game for Bowers to have a breakout game. I would love to see that. So I actually think Kansas is a better opponent than Pitt. I kind of questioned Pitt's quarterback. You kind of knew he was going to cough the ball up a few times. Jalen takes better care of the ball. He's only had 2 interceptions this year. But I hate to say it. Now that I said all those things, I'm going to cut it right down. We got to win this game. I'm not in agreement about playing loose. This is the kind of game you've got to win to start getting respect. This is the kind of game that you've got to show folks. Look, there's no wins here other than what's on the scoreboard. We've got to win this game to start gaining respect. We want to break that top 25 this season. This is where you start doing it.
Yeah, I think, I do agree with that point too, because on my show I did say this week that, it's time to make a good first impression in the Big 12. And if you want to get national respect, you need to start doing things in your conference. And what a better chance than this now. It only gets harder after this week, right? I mean, I think that the team's lingering, Utah next week's better than Kansas is. So I think it's going to get harder. I think where I go with Pitt and why I gained confidence from the Pitt game, though, is that Pitt's front seven is as good of a front seven as that we're going to see all year. And the fact that we were able to run on them and kind of find our offensive identity, I think we match up better with them there. I do agree with you. I do think that Daniels is definitely better than Holstein. I think he's the best quarterback that we're going to see to this point. And the reason that he's so dangerous because not only can he run the ball, but at the last second, he can zip the ball like 60 yards down the field when everyone's looking. So he definitely is dangerous. And we've seen 2 versions firsthand of Daniels, right? We've seen him ball out against us in 2022 at home when we gave up 55 points. And then we've also seen him last year where he stunk and we won that game from come behind fashion. So we've seen both versions. I think this is going to be a telltale sign for both teams to see kind of where they're at in conference play.
And sorry, I'm going to jump in real quick. I agree with you. This season, he's on pace to set a record, have a record-breaking season. 2 years ago, it was his best. That's been his pinnacle. But he's on pace to break that right now. And one thing too, I want to point out, Joey mentioned something that Rich, is definitely in these guys' heads. And Joey, like you said, he is feeding them all the disrespect talk. And these guys, by the time Saturday comes around, they're going to be ready to fight their mama if they got to. They are going to be looking for respect.
I think Rich actually alluded to that. I think Rich actually kind of low key alluded to that on his shows and his press conference. Like, oh yeah, we're 13.5 point underdogs. Like he kind of chuckled at it. So that's definitely going to be talked about. And like I said, West Virginia, they should be hungry because a lot of their guys are not Power 4 guys from last year. They're all Group of 5 guys that are leveling up. So each game is going to be like a reminder, these teams passed on me in the first round. Like I can play too. So I think the chip's definitely going to be there.
I'll tell you what, I'm excited.
Yeah. And he knows when to he knows when to coach a team and when to allow a team to just relax and get into the rhythm of the game. Right? I mean, he does. And I think even Pat McAfee has alluded to that back when we were going to play Georgia. He talked about a couple of nights before out on the town, they were all chugging beers, and the Georgia players were taking everything serious and going back to their rooms, and they were all out chugging beers and having fun because Rich let them, relax. Now he didn't the night before the game, but a couple of nights before, let them relax. And he knows how to relax a team and then get the most out of them, just like he did in that Sugar Bowl. So I think that now that we've beaten Pitt, I think Rich is going to relax, and I think it's going to make him a better coach. I think it's going to help him a lot. I think that loss to Pitt in 2007 was devastating. That was a tough loss, and did it hurt him as a coach? Maybe. He might have started second guessing everything at that point. So, now that he's got to win against Pitt out of his way, out of his system, with a team that he's coached in West Virginia, he's ready to go again. I really believe that. So, I know it's the same old rinse, wash, and repeat and stuff with Rich Rodriguez, but I think he's going to be a great coach for us. I'm hoping he is. I said the same thing with Neil Brown. I think Neil Brown was a great coach in his own right. Unfortunately, he just wasn't a West Virginia coach. So I think he'll do great, somewhere else. But fortunately, not in Morgantown. So we've got the right coach for the job now. I'm gonna get out of here, Shane. I've got to go do something. But appreciate you letting me come on. Everyone, have a great night. Let's go Mountaineers. Let's go beat Kansas. Let's go out there and spoil their home opener on their new field and their new stadium, and just how beautiful it's going to be. So, all right, guys.
I love it,
Good
Joey.
night.
Good seeing you, man.
Good, buddy. Bye-bye. So, on the Pat Mac show, Joe brought up a great point. Rich Rod said, hey, when those kids are, because Pat Mac said, hey, do you have them doing functions and meet and greets and this and that? And he's like, no, when they're having their free time, they're on their free time. I don't bother them. And I thought that was great that he did that. So, that's right. That's exactly why I think it's a great way to coach. You just let them kind of decompress and do their thing. But let's talk a little bit more about Kansas. We're going to put a bow on it for the second half of the show, the rest of the show. Jersey, if you want to stay with us, we're going to go through some of the key games this weekend that we think are going to be bangers that you can't miss. So with Kansas, let's talk about what you think the score is going to be. Eric, you start us off. What do you think this week's score for the Kansas game is going to be?
I think we got to make them. Jersey, completely agree. We got to make them one-dimensional, and the easiest way to do that is shut down their run. We get them, third and longs. They, like you mentioned, 30% against Missouri, so that's going to slow down their scoring. But even still, they got Jalen, and Jalen Daniels is it's like trying to catch lightning in a phone booth. It's not going to happen. I think they're still going to put up 21 points, but I like us to kind of find some scoring ourselves. I'm going to say 28 for the Mountaineers.
Yeah, I'll say 27 to 24. I think it's going to be close. I mean, if you look at the last few years that we've played them, it's been close each and every time that we've played them. It's come down to a one-score game. And let's face it, I think most scores in the Big 12 usually come down to the fourth quarter and who wants it more in the fourth quarter and who makes big plays and who doesn't hurt themselves. So if we win the game, I think it's going to be like 27 to 24 West Virginia.
Williams says, I look for Daniels to get injured on a sack by Robinson, enabling us to pull out the victory. So he's pulling out a magic 8-ball prediction there. So good for him.
You hate to say it, but I mean, injuries are a massive part in the game. Look how much the injuries changed last week's game with Desmond Reed being out for Pittsburgh. I mean, they did not have the ability to run the ball, and that changed the game. Not saying if Desmond Reed plays that West Virginia loses, but that's their key offensive playmaker that's out of the game. So Daniels has been injured before. That's why he has the 6th year that he's there eligible for. So if we want to get to him, we're going to have to put him on the ground. So it's no way to sugarcoat it.
Right. Yeah, Zach's going to pressure him anyway. That's highly possible.
And hopefully it puts some pressure on him, put him on his back a few times, or at least rush him a bit. But I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think the offense will have to get moving. I think the Mountaineers have to have at least 100 yards rushing to win. Let's go 31-28 Mountaineers. Wow. I'll tell you what. So Joey has a prediction. His prediction is KU 27, West Virginia 24. Joey has the Mountaineers losing. Wow. He didn't agree with points spread, though. So if you're going to bet, guys, this is a good one to put some money down. Put $20 down and see what happens. I mean, I'm not advocating gambling, but maybe you have a swear jar or something you've been putting money into. I don't know.
So if West Virginia, I think a lot of these people probably have the win total for West Virginia, right, which is 5.5. And if they get this one, man, you're already sitting at 3. So that is a lot of this could be a swing game for West Virginia, right? You start off the conference 1-0, that looks pretty good. Then you only need to get 3 more, and there's some winnable games out here. So I think we're going to find out a lot about both teams this weekend and what the direction of and expectations are going to be for the rest of the season.
So I have a hot button question for Mountaineer fans in Morgantown. Students charged with burning furniture. Now, in the chat, are you for couch burning or not for couch burning?
I actually had a job interview not too long ago, and one of the first questions when they saw my resume is how many couches did I burn? And, the answer was 0. I think they just made it felony. And I was there from 2011 to 2015. So there was the one kid that was in my hall, and he literally the first weekend there, he was like, I'm getting kicked out of school. And I'm like, why? And he goes, I lit a couch on fire. I'm like, dude, you have to be the dumbest. Like, I think we beat like Marshall or something. It wasn't even that big of a win. I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing? So it wasn't worth it. I witnessed a few, but I was never in charge of lighting one myself.
That's crazy. Now, years ago, it was frowned upon. The fire department came, but it wasn't a big to-do because people didn't make a big to-do about it. I mean, it was what it was because it happened infrequently. It happened when you beat Virginia Tech when Virginia Tech was like number 3 in the nation in 2003, or if you beat Miami and Miami was like top 3, But if you beat Marshall, you maybe could burn a beer koozie.
The wins that were crazy when I was there. The first year we were in the Big 12, we beat Texas on the road with Gino and Tavon, and that was crazy. Like that was a nuts environment. We beat Baylor in 2014. Baylor was number 4 in the country. It actually kept Baylor out of the college football playoff that year because we beat them. So there were some moments. I'm surprised that the students honestly didn't rush the field. Like, when's the last time students rushed the field? I don't think we've ever seen a field rush at the stadium since I've been following the team in 15 years.
I don't know. I don't know.
The last one I remember was against Virginia Tech on Thursday night when they were ranked number 3 and we upset them. And I can tell you that pepper spray in your eyes that hurts.
And let's face it, I mean, we're not. I mean, how many top 5 teams are we going to see at home this year? I mean, how many top 5 teams are we going to see all year? Like, we're not. Like, that's like the thing. Like, I don't think any of these games like are that. That's why I think the spread's like just so like 12.5. Like, I don't think we should be a 12.5 point spread against anyone this year based on our conference and how wide open it is. It's not like there's a Georgia or like a Alabama or Penn State on the schedule. You know, it's like it's very team similar to brands that we're in. So I don't know. I don't know if you're going to have like a signature win or like a chance to do that this year or anytime in the near future.
Now, see, I think we've got opportunities, but do I think it's likely? No, not at all. I think you've got like so many years this conference has like 3 or 4 teams tops that are the upper echelon, and then there's just a scrap from 5 to the like maybe top or the bottom 2 cellar dwellers, and any of those teams in that scrap heap, man, they'd fight you to the death. And so you're right.
We just beat each other up. That's what our conference does.
Rats in the bucket. That's the Big 12. Rats in the bucket.
We beat each other up. Like when's the last time? I mean, especially with Texas and Oklahoma being out, like you don't see the dominant teams that you're going to see. Now, I'm glad you pulled this up. I think this weekend, that Texas Tech and Utah game, that if Texas Tech wins that one, and that game's late in the season, we could play possible spoiler there. So that might be a chance depending on what type of season they have, or even next week. I mean, crap, if Utah beats Texas Tech,
you'd be top 10.
They're going to be ranked high going into next week. So that's a major swing game too. So I cannot wait to watch that one on Saturday.
So Texas Tech and Utah, I mean, Texas Tech, if they pull this out and they win a few games, they could be top 10 coming into Morgantown end of the season. It could be for, it could actually have a college football playoff.
Well, that game right there is going to be one of those who's going to be the Big 12 darling for the playoffs right there. You're setting the tone early, and that's going to be one of those catapult games. Whoever wins that game is going to move up at least 3 points.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are even saying like Dan Pierre right now might be like a Heisman dark horse because of how well he's playing. So that game is going to be fascinating, and that who knows that these teams, if they are as good as people say they are, this might not only be the last time that they play each other, right? They could possibly play in the Big 12 Conference Championship game at the end of the year too. So that one's going to be awesome.
No, that's the one I'm definitely going to be tuning in and watching. Usually there's 1 or 2 games. I can't devote my whole day to watching college football like I did a few years ago. I have stuff to do, but I will be watching at least 2 games. I mean, I try, guys. But other games on here, UAB Tennessee will be interesting to tune into to kind of see. Is Tennessee top 15? I don't know. Time will tell, but I don't think they are. I think there are some teams that definitely are.
That was a classic Tennessee loss last week, where they're so close, but they're so far away. I feel like they've been climbing, but they haven't taken that real step yet to be a blue blood, to be elite. So it was like the least surprising outcome I've ever seen. It's like, all right, they battled, but they lost at home to Georgia.
Yeah, exactly. So I just don't think they rate that. Just like Notre Dame has 2 losses and they're still ranked. What the heck's going on there? But Oregon State, rivalry game. Love to see that. Oregon is legit. I don't think Oregon State has a chance. But, on these, we're not going to give our picks because there's just a few of them. But Texas Tech, Utah, to go through all 3, all of us. We're going to go through. Eric, who do you think is going to win that one?
Texas Tech, that game?
Yep.
I'm going with Utah.
Jersey?
Yeah, I think with the elevation out there in Utah, and Utah's just kind of proven it more recently, right? Texas Tech hasn't had a 10-win season since 2008. Utah, even though they had a down year last year, I give them the benefit of the doubt because they're a good program. They play really good defense. They have 2 of the best offensive linemen in the country. So I think because Utah's at home, I'll give Utah the nod. If it was Texas Tech at home, I might give Texas Tech the nod, but because Utah's the home field, that's there. Real quick, I just want to speak on the Oregon thing real quick before, real quick. what a sham that is, right? Oregon has to play Oregon State this week, right? Which is a rivalry game, which is going to be a big emotion game. And then Penn State, who they play next week, they've played 3 cupcakes. They've played Villanova, they've played FIU, and they've played Nevada, and they get a bye this week. So Oregon has to play Oregon State, and then they have to travel across the country for a whiteout game versus Penn State, as Penn State has a bye. That's a really bad scheduling break for Oregon.
Yeah, the fact they have to travel out here, that Eric knows this. He travels out west occasionally. That's a rough trip. I mean, it takes the wind out of your sails, and all of those kids that play ball are not small. So for them to fit on an airplane and then have to travel.
The only saving grace for Oregon might be is that it's kind of in Penn State's head that they can't, they haven't been able to get over that hump that they beat teams. They're good at beating teams that are not on their level, but when it comes to teams that are on their level or better than them, they have not beaten them. So James Franklin is going to have a major amount of pressure going into that game. I know we don't want to get too far ahead and talk about next week, but I just think it's a really bad scheduling break for Oregon.
Yeah,
Penn
State. They have stage fright. They don't do well against. They don't do well against a lot of. Hold on a second. They don't do well against a lot of. The Ohio States, the Michigans, and of course Oregon has curb stomped them most recently. But I agree.
If they were to lose that game to Oregon next week, it would get really uncomfortable for James Franklin, I think, in State College, to be honest with you, because if Penn State can't win significant games this year, if not now, when, with how loaded they are, so he's gonna have an amazing amount of pressure on him next week going into that game.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. So who are you picking you're picking Utah. Eric picked Utah for this game here. I think I'm just going to say guns up, go Texas Tech to be the odd man out. Because I want to set up a top 5. I want Texas Tech to be, I want them to be in the single digits ranking when they come into Morgantown. I want that night game. I want that night game. I want that opportunity for Rich Rod to make his mark. But we'll see. Wishing one hand. That saying, wishing one hand.
Although next week Utah, right? So Utah comes into West Virginia next week. It's a 3:30 kick, and I think we're wearing the throwback uniforms that day. So that's another great opportunity for us next week.
Yep. I can't. I have tickets. I can't go, so I'm giving up the old tickets for that one because I have my kid has homecoming. So, but no, that's gonna be a nice one because if Utah wins, they're definitely gonna be 12, right?
Yep,
that'd be good. But let's go down the list here. Of course, everything else on here looks like it's going to go as planned. We have go up a little bit more.
Just real quick, that Nebraska game, they're an interesting team, right? Because I feel like Matt Rule, man, it's like, is it now or never for him too? Everyone hypes him up as a coach, but I think he's kind of overrated as a coach, Matt Rule, to be honest with you. And they didn't look that great against Cincinnati. I mean, Sawyer Robinson only had 70 yards passing, and Cincinnati almost found a way to win that game. What do they look like against Michigan? And Michigan's going to try to rebound against that Oklahoma loss. So that one should be an interesting game at 3:30 on Saturday too.
Yeah, that's a game that, if Michigan looks like crap, then people will be like, oh, well, even if Nebraska wins, people are like, well, Michigan's not that good anyways because they it's a no-win situation for Nebraska. I mean, it's just you hope they get that program turned around, but it's been in limbo and purgatory for how many years? Since 97 they haven't been legit. So
yeah, the Eric Crouch years are the last time I remember them being solid.
Yeah.
Hey, before we run away from that, can you scroll back up? If you're going to tune into that Michigan-Nebraska game, put your TV on split screen. Check out that Oregon State-Oregon game. I know we talked it up, so I'm not going to waste a lot of time here. But for folks who aren't familiar with it, that rivalry is as intense as ours with Pitt. The schools are very close, and Oregon State has a rich history of upsetting big teams. Going back to Pete Carroll's USC team.
That's right.
Don't sleep on that game. That's going to be a good one just to keep an eye on. Although I will say Oregon State got gutted last year. They had a lot of talent. They got gutted.
A lot of kids transferred out. Yeah. When I'm in Corvallis, I like to stay at that Hilton Garden. It overlooks the stadium. Nice little spot.
That's the thing that sucks about our game is that it's at 4:00. So like I know last week, like I have 2 TVs in my man cave. So I was like watching, West Virginia Pitt, but then right behind me was Tennessee Georgia. So we were overtime at the same time. So you're kind of trying to watch both. Obviously you're focused in on West Virginia, but sometimes when there's other good games on when you're on, you don't get a chance to watch those games.
So I'm going to go through a couple more here. We went through those ones. Maryland, Wisconsin, I could really care. This is going to be interesting. Syracuse and Clemson. I don't know how good Clemson is, but that's one you will click through and kind of get a kind of feel for how the ACC is. It's like one of those creatures in like the ecosystem. If it's there, that it's good. It's good. It's like, oh, Syracuse is playing good ball, then the ACC.
Syracuse had their guys running wind sprints. Was it like last week or 2 weeks ago? They barely beat Connecticut, and their coaches had them doing wind sprints as soon as the game was over. I think, for the ACC, I think we're going to find out a lot this week because Miami plays Florida. So you're going to see how legit they are. And then, you have Clemson, who's going to be a desperate football team. Dabo came out this week and said what he said. So they're 1-2. They're going to be desperate for a win, and Syracuse is not an easy win. That game's going to be really interesting on Saturday.
So, boys, Virginia Tech is there's supposedly there's rumors that Michael Vick, Shane Beamer, all these names being circled around. I mean, it's going to be surprised. I have my ear kind of just out there listening, but when we find out something, I'll bring it up because they're close to home, and maybe not for your generation, Jersey, but growing up, West Virginia used to play Virginia Tech on the regular, and it wasn't really even a rivalry because West Virginia owned them. It wasn't until Mike Vick came into town that it got competitive. So
Beamer had. We kind of made the program for them. Beamer brought in the whole concept of special teams having a significant outcome in the game, and all of a sudden, West Virginia fans were like, "How in the world did this happen?" And then Mike Vick sneaks in. And their stock just took off. I'm sorry, Jersey, you were saying something.
Yeah, no, I was at the West Virginia Tech game in 2017. It was Will Greer's first game. It was a neutral site game at the Washington Commander Stadium, and it was one of the best games I ever went to. West Virginia ended up losing that game, but I mean, both stadiums. It was a Sunday night game. The stadium was literally shaking. So I have a lot of respect for Virginia Tech's fan base and stuff because their fans are blue collar like West Virginia. And I would like to see them, honestly, on the schedule more because it's usually a pretty good game. And I really hope that both programs can rebound. Although this year I hope Virginia Tech sucks because they have like 3 of our former players on their offensive line. So anytime a player leaves, I don't root for them. I hope they all lose and have miserable seasons. So I hope Virginia Tech, I hope they go 0-12 this year.
But I'll tell you what, Jersey, I would rather see West Virginia play Virginia Tech and Louisville than Pitt because I just think I enjoy that rivalry more because since 1988, West Virginia is 29-1 against Pitt. So I think it's more of a rivalry with Louisville and Virginia Tech. I enjoy that more. I'm just saying. I'm a weirdo maybe, but just want to see.
And Shane, you may be a weirdo, but it's not for this reason. I'd love to see us play Louisville again. That was a great matchup. I think Louisville has enough resources in their program. They can definitely rebound. I think Virginia Tech has enough alumni, and they've had enough success from their alumni that they can bring that program back, no doubt. And they have the second best tradition in college football with Enter Sandman.
That's really good. Yeah.
It'd be cool if we could ever, man. I know there's always talks about ACC getting picked apart, but if we could ever, just get like Louisville and Virginia Tech to join our conference and have like an East Division. That way we don't have to overschedule in the non-conference, and it would make sense for a lot of people. So hopefully there can be more common sense conferences moving forward whenever the realignment push does happen.
When I become a college football supervillain and I take over college football from my basement, then I'll make it happen. Believe me. And we just need West Virginia to win a few games so that they can stay relevant.
Shane, put Rutgers on the schedule for me because it's about a 45-minute drive. So if you're ever in charge, throw Rutgers in there for me.
I see games in Rutgers. So Auburn, Oklahoma is another one I have kind of circled. That's going to be interesting. Kind of see exactly where Oklahoma is in the pecking order. Auburn, you don't know exactly what the my 80-year-old dad's calling me, so I'll have to call him back after the show.
Yeah, I think both those programs kind of had like identity issues going into the season, right? Oklahoma had some losing seasons, which they're not accustomed to, had a tough first season in the SEC last year. And then Auburn has really struggled, but they had a nice win over Baylor in week 1 on the road. So that one's going to be an interesting game to see if a win can catapult either one of those teams to have a successful, surprising season right off the bat. So I'm going to be looking into that one.
Well, Coop says he gave us prediction for the game this week. He says 33-14. And then he also says Wofford's going to beat Virginia Tech. So I love it. I love the optimism. So, guys, let's we got just a few more here. There's one more on here that had and that's the West Virginia Kansas one. It's at 6 o'clock Eastern, which I think is a sweet spot for a football game. You're not going to be up real late. Mm-hmm. But what's the last one on here?
Probably Florida, Miami, I would guess.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. There it is, Florida, Miami. And then, of course, this Arizona State Baylor is the other one. So these are the two ones I'm going to have on. Have one on my phone and then one on my TV. This Florida, Miami is going to be a classic. What are your thoughts, Eric, on this one?
I think Florida's, they're in a tailspin. They are trying to pull up on that joystick and right that plane. But I don't know. I think Miami's legit. I think they're for real. Like you had said so many times, it's great for college football when Miami's good and everybody loves to hate them. So, yeah, Miami's, I think, going to I think they're going to try to make this a statement win.
Especially since it's Florida, they'll definitely want to bury them in the sand. What do you think, Jersey? Think this is going to be if Florida have a snowball's chance in Florida?
All I remember last year was I was sitting in my hotel in Morgantown after watching West Virginia have a nauseating performance against Penn State, and I was like down in the dumps. And then I watched some other games on the TV and the highlights of that day, and that game was one that stuck out. Miami beat down Florida so bad. They were going up to recruits at Florida saying, "Join Miami." They were doing the Gator chomp in Florida, and they made it so personal that I think Miami is better on paper, but I think Florida's a desperate football team right now. I think that's one. I don't know. I honestly don't know who's going to win that game, but I think it's going to be very chippy because of what happened last season, and I think that it is going to be a very entertaining game. So I don't know who's going to win. Carson Beck has looked really, really good, but last year in some big moments he kind of fell short, but he looks good, pretty good right now. That's going to be a must-watch game this weekend.
So close it out, guys. Arizona State, Baylor, guys. It's just going to be Big 12 football. This is one of those, the measuring stick is out, and this is where you know exactly where people stand because it's like rats in a barrel. You just don't know what's in the middle of the Big 12. Arizona State, Baylor. Arizona State won it last year. I don't know, guys. Who do you think is going to win that one?
I was going to refer to this as the battle for the middle. And quite honestly, you pick them. I think Baylor's got a slight edge just being at home, but I don't know.
I flip a coin. I think the Big 12, you might as well call it the big simulator, right? You just have a bunch of simulated things, and it could go a different way. I mean, I honestly don't know. I mean, they both have really good quarterbacks with Sawyer Robinson and Levitt, right? So they both have good quarterbacks. They're coached well. I don't know. Mount Mama, I'm putting records on the schedule. I'm 15 minutes away from Rucker Stadium. Mount Mama, what town in Jersey do you live in? Just if you can put that in the comments, I want to know where she lives because I live closer there. But yeah, anyway, back to the game. I think it's going to be flip a coin.
Well, you know what? I feel like Mike Leach, God rest his soul, where he was talking about, you got a Utah Ute. Does he have a rifle? Does he have he's going through all of the animals in the old Pac-12 and who would, what mascot would beat what mascot. That's what I kind of feel like with that one. But guys, this has been a fun show. Thanks for coming on, Jersey. Eric, once again. Jersey, tell us when you drop your videos and tell us about your channel.
Yeah, so like I said, it's kind of South River. I'm from Phillipsburg, New Jersey. So if you know where that is, it's on the border of Phillipsburg and Easton, Pennsylvania, out on the by Larry, where Larry Holmes is from. So my show, I put out stuff like every other day when I have time to record, aside from my teaching job and me being a dad. I can hear my kids upstairs. So I put out a video today about the Kansas preview. I also put a video out earlier in the week about the top 5 storylines. So been trying to stay busy. Like I said, we've been growing a lot, and I really appreciate the support. I like that you guys appreciate you guys letting me come on here and promote my show and give me some airtime. I really do appreciate it.
Hey, we try to support all West Virginia channels no matter what. This is the way I roll. But no, thanks for coming on. You're welcome here, and hopefully you're a regular guest. We love having you. I know Eric and me love to have other folks come in. That's why it's called the Call-In Show on Thursday. Sometimes we don't have people pop in. Sometimes we do. But hey, what we're going to do is Mondays, 9 o'clock, like clockwork, we do our show. Also, we have a show that we do every Thursday. It's called West Virginia Call-In Show at the Voice of College Football. And guys, we're going to have a wonderful football season this year. I just think it's going to be exciting. They're competitive. I really didn't think it was going to be that competitive. I was about ready to just cancel Christmas after that.
I was very nervous, gonna be honest with you, because I started the show in May, like end of May and June, and I'm like, man, like my worst fear came true with the Ohio loss, and I'm like, man, like now what? Like, you know, I felt like I'm like, this is gonna be really challenging to do a show and stay optimistic if our team's not winning games.
Well, you can build followers by bitching and complaining. It happens, right?
Yeah, I mean, I told my dad, you know, I better brush up on my West Virginia basketball knowledge, getting ready for the season. But I never want to be the guy though that buries players. You know, I feel like for me, I'm 33 years old, so I don't ever want to bash a 20-something-year-old kid. So I try to stay optimistic. I try to tell us where we can win some games and things like that. I try not to bash the players or anything like that because it's just not, for me, it's not my cup of tea. So it'd be hard though, like when, you know, when guys aren't performing, it's hard. You have to be critical because people want the truth, but I also, you know, don't like to go down that path.
Right, Eric? They're getting paid now, so
it's a little tougher now, especially because they're getting paid. But Jersey, I got to point out something, buddy. You do a phenomenal job. I got to tell you, and I do not take this the wrong way because I am not upset one bit. You stole all my smoke, man. You were throwing out great facts for tonight's game, and I'm like, dang it, man, he's killing it. But man, no, love having you on. You bring great stuff every time, and you're very positive. I mean, let's face it, even though they're getting paid a lot of money, a lot of these kids, and they're not kids, they're young men. They're still young men. They're still figuring things out, and it's a rough kind of business now because it is kind of more of a business. So yeah, be patient with, because a lot of these young men have families, and they got a lot of future in front of them. You know, they got things they got to do. And let's respect that and respect them. Try to point out the good things. And if there's areas for them to improve, well, that's kind of our job to point that out.
Eric, I appreciate the feedback, man. I really do. You know, thank you again. I really do appreciate it. You know, I think for me, I think where I can be critical now, and this is my pet peeve. Before we get off here, not to get off on tangent, is like one thing I hate about the players is when they leave the school and they send that like sappy message out, like, oh, you know, forever Mountaineer, and but I'm gonna take my talents. I'm like, you know, why don't you? And then all the players that were on the team, like, go be great, bro, and like they retweet it. I'm like, yo, they're about to play you like this weekend, like that, like they're like Trey Lathan, right, is gonna play for Kansas against us. I wish him well, but I hope he leaves with the L on Saturday, right? When we played Jared Bartlett last year when he was on Cincinnati, I hope you lose. When I saw Tony Mathis dancing in the Houston locker room after we lost on a Hail Mary, I wanted to throw up. So anytime I see a play, that's my pet peeve with you know, when I be hard on players, when they leave and they go to a school that we have to play on the schedule. I hate that. So that's where I'll be critical of the players.
Well, guys, that's all the time we have tonight. And I'll tell you what, it just flew by. But you know what? Before you know it, it's going to be Thanksgiving where we'll be talking about bowls and talking about basketball. But we're not there yet. We're just starting Big 12 play. And we got to kind of see what West Virginia has. And we'll be talking about it again here on the Voice of College Football, the West Virginia channel. Guys, guys, thanks for coming. Love having you on. We had Joey on, which was great. So if you missed it, you can watch us on YouTube or Spotify or any of the little icons down at the bottom. I hate to sound like Harry Carey, but you guys probably don't know who that is, but it used to be the Cubs announcer. Guys, have a good one. We're going to let you go with the great state of West Virginia's flag. So we'll see ya.
Thanks, guys.
Great night.